Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, these are all companies that I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies. I highly recommend that you check them out. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our sponsors, and then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Tables and Video Boards. Go to their website and schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. You've heard me say before, probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com for more information. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. Our coaches, our athletes, even our parents just loved it. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to thank our friends at Snap Raise. If you've ever used a fundraiser, sometimes for weeks and weeks, and been disappointed in the results, you need to check out Snap Raise. We used it at our school with tremendous success. Coaches loved it, parents loved it. It works. Go to snapraise.com, check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. We also want to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is the official high school sports administration software platform for Florida, for California, other states, and thousands of ADs. And even if your state has a different platform, you can be a home campus school. You need to check out all their features, particularly the athletic clearance and eligibility platform. It's a game changer. Go to homecampus.com to get started. We also want to thank Gipper. Go to Gipper.com. Let their team turn you into a social media marketing expert. It could be a social media post to celebrate a victory. It could be an entire newsletter to showcase all the great things that your school is doing. Go to Gipper.com. It's professional graphic design made easy. And don't forget to mention the podcast. We also want to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touch screen video consoles. Put one of these in your gym lobby, your main school hallway. It's going to be a magnet for kids, for coaches. How about sponsors? Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant athletic director, along with thousands of others, got his master's through the Ohio program. And while he completed it, he also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University's online masters in athletic administration. We'd like to thank Hometown. Hometown is still changing the game for schools and organizations with their suite of solutions that includes, digital ticketing, but how about athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising, and a whole lot more. Whether you're an AD, a principal, or even a coach, Hometown can help you save time, raise more money, and bring your community together. That's hometown.com. And we want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. At my school, we use surveys for just about everything, for student athletes, for coaches, for parents, and the information that would come back was almost always over the top positive. We still got to hear from those squeaky wheel parents and address their concerns before they became something big. But having all that positive data is incredibly valuable, especially when you're sitting down with your principal or sometimes even with your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Let them create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. And don't forget to mention the podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to Texas today, and our guest is Dee Bernal. Dee is the Assistant District Athletic Director for Corpus Christi ISD, oversees a number of schools, has a tremendous background in athletics and education. Dee Bernal, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thank you for having me, Jake. I am so excited to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you. We always love visiting with our friends in Texas. Let's go and jump right in. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us your quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up. Maybe take us up through your own college days, and then we'll take a break, hear about your career later. But what's the Dee Bernal origin story?
Well, I am from Mathis, Texas. It is a town like 2 hours south of San Antonio, in between San Antonio and Corpus Christi. I grew up there. I married very young, 19. And I moved away. My husband's in the military, so moved away. Played sports throughout middle school and high school. Very involved in athletics, band, anything that you can think of. I was in a one high school district, 3A, so we played everything. Yeah, I loved sports all my life, and from there I went on to the University of West Florida. My husband again was in the military, so we that's where we ended up in Pensacola, Florida. So earned my degree there, and that's where I started my teaching career.
Boy, our youngest daughter graduated from the University of West Florida.
Really?
She's a little bit younger than you, but again, there's that small world. Um, I want to go back to the growing up. You
Mhm.
mentioned small school. You did all the sports. Um, Texas, obviously, even more so, I can say this, even more so than Florida, a football state. How was that for you growing up? Was it, all the kids were playing football? Did you jump in there? I mean, what were some of those memories like?
Those memories, like I said, small school. So I literally did everything: volleyball, basketball, track. Didn't play tennis, but I was a cheerleader, and from seventh grade all through high school. And so football, super big in Texas. And so that was the one event where everybody in town was there on Friday nights. So it was a huge part of my upbringing because I was a cheerleader. I never had any any idea as far as wanting to play the sport, but I loved watching it. Obviously, I was out there on the sidelines during the game, so definitely big in even in small school districts. Football is life here in Texas.
Right. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Looking at your own athletic career, you mentioned, a number of sports. Can you pick out a moment or something that was impactful for you and share that with our listeners?
Yes, definitely. My sport of choice, the one that I like finished off with, was basketball. I played again. I probably from I don't know from 8 years old on. I come from a family of eight. I was the baby in the family, and so I grew up just playing outside, shooting baskets, and I love basketball. Unfortunately, my senior year, I ruptured multiple disc in my back, like that summer leading into my senior year. I did not get to play my senior year. I was getting ready to go and play. I was pretty decent enough to go in and play at a junior college or something. And so that was one of the reasons why I went into coaching. Was first off, just the coaches that I had were very impactful in my life. But secondly, just the fact that I couldn't play the sport anymore. I wanted to be able to impact, other athletes, things that I couldn't, get to. I aspired to get those kids to those places, and I did. I was very successful in getting developing my players to where they went on and played in college. So I'm pretty proud of that. But definitely, my coaches were very impactful, starting from seventh grade on. I looked up to my coaches because they were very much a part of my life because I played the sports. They were just always involved, very interested in what I was doing, kept me on the straight and narrow. And so I just appreciate all of my coaches growing up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just love to hear those stories. All right, let's fast forward. You got married, you moved to Pensacola, Florida. A little bit of a change from Texas. Uh, were you did you immerse yourself immediately in like teacher ed and coach prep, and you knew you were going to be a coach, or did that
Always.
happen? Did that happen differently?
No, I always knew I was, well, first of all, I wasn't planning on getting married so young, but you're in love. I'm still married, by the way. I've been married for 33 years. So it was true love. Anyhow, I actually started off my first 2 years was I went to a junior college in Jacksonville, North Carolina. And that's where he started off his duty station. And then when his time came up, he was like, okay, where do you want to go to college to see if he could get stationed wherever? And so obviously it was in Pensacola, and that's where we ended up. But coaching, I always knew, like, I just thought that they just had the coolest jobs, and I was going to be able to be around sports, and so that was a no brainer. Like I knew from the get go. I want to say maybe it was my freshman year with I had a coach, Coach Campos, and she was so awesome, and she'd always have these stories, and she was just very, very motivating, and I just truly looked up to her, and so I just wanted to be that to somebody else, and so I always knew that that's what I was going to do,
All right.
always.
All right. In our next segment after the break, we're going to talk about your journey, that career journey that's now brought you to Corpus Christi. But that you're a senior in college, you're getting ready to graduate. Was there a plan there? Or was there another move impending? What was that moment like for you when you're in college?
When I was in college, it was nerve wracking. At the time, it was like I was finally going to be done, and we knew that we had at least one more year there in Pensacola, so I knew I was going to start off there, and just picking the right school. But I ended up. I was very fortunate that when I did my student teaching, I did it at Pine Forest High School, which is there in Pensacola, and I just was able to network. That's when my first opportunity that I had to network. And so from there, just by word of mouth, that those coaches talked to the coaches at Woodham High School, which Woodham High School, I think, doesn't even exist anymore.
Mhm.
It's now like a alternative school or something. I actually went and visited a couple of years ago, and I went to the school. It has a different name. But anyhow, I because of those opportunities there during my student teaching, I was able to land my first job there in Pensacola. And so I need to tell you a cool story about that. When I was at Woodham High School, my first year, I did cheerleading and I did track. And I had the opportunity I didn't coach him directly, obviously, but Justin Gatlin, who was an Olympic runner, was a sophomore in high school. And I got to see him go to state that year. And it was so freaking awesome for my first year coaching. I coached the girls, obviously, long jump.
Mhm.
And I had a long jumper there, Courtney. Can't remember her last name, but her name was Courtney. And so I got to see that, and that was just such a cool experience.
Well, that must have been something for another kid to show up at a track meet, and in the lane next to him, there's Justin Gatlin.
Oh my
Just
God,
like
he smoked everybody. It was unreal. When we went to state, I was like, okay, this kid is, and he was so down to earth. As like he was shy, but very friendly. He didn't let his like he was very, very successful as a sophomore. He was what, 15 years old.
right.
Very, very humble, and that's what I remember about him.
Oh, that's a
But
great
he
story.
smoked everybody.
Thanks. Thanks
Yeah.
for sharing. As a track guy, I can appreciate that. Let's go and take our first break. Our guest today is Dee Bernal. She is the Assistant District Athletic Director for the Corpus Christi ISD. Of course, that's in Corpus Christi, Texas. Let's take that break, but we're coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to thank our good friends at Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Tables and Video Boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. You've heard me say before, probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Table. Of course, we use it for home games, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Their products are tremendously versatile, and their customer service is just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thank you to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, all of our coaches, just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes loved the videos, and our parents loved the streaming, but there's a lot more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com.
So we use Huddle at CCISD and absolutely love it. The team from Huddle have been phenomenal in just getting everything ready for us. Every year, it just continues to get better and better. So definitely a Huddle district at Corpus Christi ISD.
Well, thanks so much for sharing that. And again, I just love to hear the stories where districts adopt it and sharing within the districts as well as statewide. Thanks a lot.
No, no
For
problem.
for our guests or for our listeners, our guest today is Dee Bernal. She's the Assistant District AD for the Corpus Christi ISD. Dee, you took our listeners on your journey that took you to Pensacola, Florida, and you started your coaching career. What were some of the other stops that you made in your career that led you to your current position as the Assistant AD for Corpus Christi?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a military wife. And so we left when I was 19. I started college when I was 20. So our first stop obviously was Jacksonville, Florida, North Carolina, Pensacola, Florida. I was there. I didn't mention that earlier, but I only got to work in Pensacola for 1 year because then my husband gets transferred. His first transfer was to Norfolk, Virginia. He was in the Navy. And so I worked 1 year as an elementary school teacher because my son, I wanted him to go to that particular school. I have a 5-year-old at that point. And he never again. I knew after that first year, I don't ever want to work at an elementary school. I mean, it was that people were amazing. Everything was amazing. That wasn't me. From there, my husband, he was stationed on a ship, and so he was deploying all the time. Uh, During that time that I was there, that 1 year, I get pregnant with my second child, and I had nobody. And so I moved back to Texas while he was being deployed because he would leave for like 9 months at a time. So I'm in Texas, and I'm like, okay, well, let me go and teach and coach there. And so I actually worked the next 2 years in Mathis High School, and that's where I graduated from, which that was kind of cool. And then my husband gets orders to Corpus Christi, Texas. And so we get to extend our stay there. And so at that point, then I move over to Cal Allen High School. And I don't know if you're big on or following Texas high school football, but Coach Danaher, who is the all-time winningest coach in Texas, is the athletic director there. And so I get to go and work for him. And so I was there another 3 years. And then my husband gets sent to Iraq to the war. And so then I extend another year. And at that point, I go and I coach up at the high school. From there, I moved, we moved to Virginia. And I worked at 2 high schools. And that pretty much is the time where I start with my master's. And let me backtrack. When I am in Cal Allen, I go to a conference. And at that conference, there is a female, I can't remember her name, but I know she was like from the Lubbock area, and she was an athletic director. And I had never seen a female athletic director. And so she's sitting there talking, and I'm just like, okay, I want, first of all, I didn't think that females could do this. And secondly, like, that is just so cool. Like, I want to do that. And so when I moved from Texas to Virginia, I told my husband, I'm going back to school. Like, I'm going to get my degree and I want to be an athletic director. And he was like, okay, whatever. And so during those 2 years in Virginia, I got it done. I don't even know how I did it, but I finished in a year and a half, and I get my master's degree in educational leadership. And but I love coaching, and so I'm there for 2 years. The third year, I work at Chesapeake at Western Branch in Chesapeake, Virginia, and then finally we move. And this time we go to Okinawa, Japan. And so I going over there, and it is very hard. If you know anything about Department of Defense schools, it's very hard to get into the system. And so that first year that I get there, and I had just graduated. It was in 2012. 2011 is when I graduated with my master's. 2012 is when I moved. And there is an assistant athletic director position at one of the gyms on the base. And I thought, you know what? Like, I'm going to do that because, like I said, it was very hard. I had applied and everything. It was just very hard to get in. And so I do that. And so I essentially was doing a lot of what I do right now, but just in the private, with the government.
Sure.
And so in that experience, though, I was able to interact and network with, we had a tournament. It was a basketball tournament. It's called Far East. And so they essentially get, because these are all military high schools just throughout Asia. So you have like the kids in South Korea, Japan, Guam, all of these areas, and they all come together, and it's kind of like their state tournament. And so they actually had it at our gym. And the reason that they had it at our gym is because we had had a typhoon and it totally destroyed the school gym. And so they had to have it there. So I was very flexible working with this coordinator. And without knowing, I didn't know, but his wife was a superintendent at Korea. And so we had a good interaction, and he was like, kind of asked me for my background, and I told him, I was a coach and a teacher. And he's like, why aren't you working for the Department of Defense schools? And I said, well, it's really hard to get into. And he was like, what's your name again? And so I gave him my name, and next thing you know, he says, you need to apply. And he said, my wife, he proceeded to tell me what his wife did. And he said, I'm gonna get you in. I'm like, okay. I was like, whatever. And so I did it. And sure enough, I got in just by that one interaction. And so the next 2 years, I got to work at junior varsity basketball, varsity volleyball, and varsity track. So I'm there for the 2 years, and we had some phenomenal athletes, military kids. They're just all, it's like all these transfers coming into this one school, and you just had like the cream of the crop. And so I got to do that for 2 years. And then my husband gets stationed to the Pentagon. And so we're now we live right outside Washington, and I'm at Stafford, Virginia. And I was at Colonial Forge High School there in Stafford. And during that time, I was able to work with a girl who is now in the WNBA. Her name is Shakira Austin. She plays for the Washington Wizards. And so she walks in my very first year. I was coaching volleyball, and she walks in. This girl's like 6'4" or something, walks into the gym, and I'm just like, what in the world? We had her play volleyball that first year. We had her as a middle blocker. She was not a volleyball player. Anyhow, so the first year we do well. We go into, I think we made it to the regional tournament that first year. The second year we won state, and this is a 6A high school in Virginia. And it was a phenomenal experience. From there, my mom gets really sick, and I end up moving back to Texas. Um, and I was here that last year before she passed. But so I got to work actually with my sister. My sister was also a coach, and she was about to retire. And so she was the head volleyball coach. So I came and I was her assistant her last year. And I got to spend a lot of time with my mom that last year. And then I moved back to Virginia. I'm there one more year. And at this point, my husband's ready. He's going to retire. And so I thought, okay, this is my chance. I'm going to go back and be an athletic director. Like this is what I worked for. And so we moved to Virginia, and just by chance, there's a position open. I applied for it. I didn't even get a job interview, and I was just like, okay, well, maybe they had somebody in mind, whatever, you know. And so I go in. I knew that I needed to step away from sports.
Hmm.
Although that just killed me. I had been in sports for 19 years before I went into administration. But the first 2 years when I moved back to Corpus, I was an assistant principal. I did that for 2 years. And guess what? There's a position that's open again as a assistant AD. And so I applied. And in doing that, I let my supervisor know, like, hey, I'm going to apply for this position. I'd like, a letter of recommendation. And she was like, I didn't know you were interested in going at the district level or whatever. And I was like, well, yeah, like I really wanted this position. And she said, okay, well, that's good to know. And she also mentioned, if this doesn't work out for you, there's a position that's coming open. You might be interested in it, whatever. And I was like, okay. And it was for director. So it was a big move from being an assistant principal to a director. So I end up applying for that job. I don't get these. I actually get an interview for the assistant AD, and didn't get it. And so I ended up applying for the director position. I got that one. And so now 2 years in, I start a new job, and I do that for another 2 years, and then lo and behold, that position comes open again. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to try this one more time, and I think I'm ready. And I went in there, I think that third time with a lot of confidence,
Right.
knowing, going in, having done the director position that I had been doing the last 2 years, I was pretty confident that I could get this done. And I did. I landed the job, and here I am going on to year three.
Well, you covered so many great points there. I guess number one is whatever job you're at, you do your best. You show yourself, you show everybody, hey, I can do this job. I can thrive in this job. You showed some perseverance, going back a couple of times to get that. And throughout the segment, you've talked about networking, and
Yes.
networking is such, I think, an underappreciated tool, if you will, tool in the toolbox, especially for young ADs. Start building your network early. Um, let's go and take a break. When we come back, I want to hear all about the great things that you are doing at Corpus Christi Independent School District, and some things that you're really proud of. So let's take that break, but we're coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to thank our good friends at Snap Raise for their support of the podcast. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with our teams and had tremendous success, and so will you. Go to snapraise.com. Check out some of their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. We also want to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day. It's the official high school sports administration software platform for Florida, for California, for other states, and thousands of athletic directors. And even if your school or your state uses a different platform, you got to check out Home Campus. Their athletic eligibility and clearance platform alone will change your life. Go to homecampus.com for more information, and don't forget to mention the podcast. We also want to take a moment and thank our friends at Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing expert. Maybe it'll be a simple social media post to celebrate a victory. It could also be an entire newsletter to showcase all the great things that your athletic department is doing. Either way, the Gipper team will have you up and running in no time. It's professional graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com and, of course, don't forget to mention the podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Dee, you took us on a journey, and you and I were talking during the break. Not everybody gets to experience. You did, almost worldwide travel, but it happens sometimes. We hear from ADs that they spend their entire 30, 35 years at a single school, and I think that's great. My career, very much like yours, we bounced around for a while until we ended up settling in Florida. Now you're the assistant district AD for Corpus Christi. Um, Tell our listeners a little bit about the district, give them some context, and then share some things that you're particularly proud of about your district.
Okay. So at Corpus Christi ISD, we have about, it's a city of, within our district, we have about 34,000 students. And so we have 6 high schools. They're all 5A high schools. And they just finished up a new middle school. So we also oversee those 12 middle schools within the district. And so it's an urban city. And so it's very, very diverse. Like if you go to one side of the city to the other, completely different demographics. But I think in the end, it's very family oriented, the whole, like just the district. And we try to uh, have that feel like within the athletic department, to where our coaches don't ever feel left out or not knowing what to do, that type of thing. But Corpus is just it's unique in that just the surrounding areas. There's a lot of one high school districts surrounding us. We're the only multi-school district within that area. And so just a bigger city, more there's a lot of talent in our city. And so we try to do a lot to promote our athletes. This year in particular, we had multiple teams make it to state. And then, in the surrounding areas, I'm not, but I'm super proud of them. The surrounding areas, we actually had one high school where my sister's the assistant AD there. The one that I told you that retired, she ended up coming back to work. And so she's there. And this year, they won the softball and baseball state championship in Texas. That's like hard to do. And so they did that. And then our locally, just right across the water, we had Flower Bluff, it's still part of Corpus Christi, not in our district, but they won state in volleyball. So, and then of course we had our tennis all-star. She came in third in state. So we have a lot of accomplishments here. But yeah, the second question I think you asked was what am I most proud of? I think just coming in, I didn't come in by myself new. There's 3 assistant ADs within our district. We have 1 athletic director and 3 assistants. And we all were hired within 2 to 3 weeks from each other. I was the last one hired, and but I'm the oldest one, so they listen to me. I'm kidding, but that they have there's 2 men and myself, and then our athletic director was female, and then like I said, she just retired, and so just coming in new, there was a lot of systems in place, but yet she gave us that flexibility to bring new things in, and so one of the things that the initiatives that me and the other 2 assistant ADs brought in was just different communication tools that our district was already using, but our coaches didn't necessarily use it, and it's called Canvas. And it's just a hub for them to go and just get all of the information that they need for anything from transportation to how to fill out a requisition, just anything like that is it's just a one-stop shop. So that was something that we implemented. But this year, I'm super excited because we are starting a coaching academy for all new coaches that are coming into our district. And we'll be meeting with them throughout the year just to make sure that that we're checking in with them. We're also incorporating the mental health piece in our PD this year. I oversee professional development in our district, and so just being able to bring those things in that I think are very, very important, not just for our coaches, but for our coaches to help our athletes. Because at the end of the day, we do this for the kids. And so just having that opportunity to do those types of things, that makes me proud because I feel like even though like I'm not on the court with those kids, I'm still impacting them somehow, in the things that I'm doing at the district level.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You talked about when you left coaching, you just loved coaching and you weren't with the kids that much. I think ADs, I know I did, struggle with that at first. Being a district AD, now you're one step further removed from the kids. Here's a question that I typically ask. I'm curious about your response. You have six high schools. So you also have a bunch of middle schools, and they are all part of the Corpus Christi team, and yet they have their own mascots. They have their own traditions. How do you, I guess, balance respecting, individual identity, and at the same time, you remind those ADs and those coaches, hey, we're all on the same team here.
Right. And that is very, very hard to juggle. But there are some things that, because we do have a governing body, the UIL, that for the whole state of Texas. And so our job as athletic directors is to make sure that we are in compliance with everything that needs to be done as far as UIL goes. And then just any, CCISD policies, just making sure that everybody's following through with that. But at the end of the day, they all have their autonomy, like within their schools, and we give them that. Each high school has an athletic coordinator, and so that person has that leadership role. It's in our district, it's the head football coach. So they kind of oversee their particular school and their feeder schools. So each one of our high schools, like I said, there's six. And they each have two feeder schools that feed into them. So that AC oversees their high school along with the two feeders. And so it's so tough, when you're in a multi-school district like that. It's just a lot easier when you're in a one high school district where those middle school kids, they know 100%, they're going to that high school. When you're dealing with a multi-school district, you have just different programs. Now we have program of choice. And so these kids, you might have them in middle school, but they might end up at another high school. And so just having to balance that and just making sure that everybody is doing the things that they should be doing as far as, following through with home visits and stuff like that, just to make sure that everything is legit and fair, for everyone. But yeah, we meet with our ACs during football season. We meet with them once a week. Then after football, it's every 2 weeks. And so there's that line of communication is always going with those schools. So they're very much aware of the things that we need to do as a whole. But we also understand that they're in the same district, so they're competing against each other. And so we always give them that room to do, their thing with their feeders. So
Right. Again, I can imagine that, as you said, it's a delicate balance,
mhm.
but very, very cool. Um, Dee, we're going to do this at the end of the podcast, but I want to do it now. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out and connect with you, maybe pick your brain, find out how you do things at Corpus Christi, or as you've said, just add you to their network, what's the best way that they can get a hold of you?
They can find me on LinkedIn. And oh gosh, I don't know my handle, but I guess maybe during the break I can look for that real quick. And then my email address, I can give you that. And yeah, I love learning. I'm a teacher and a coach at heart, and so anything that I can do to help somebody else, like that's, I mean, it's a calling, right? To be
Hmm.
a teacher and a coach. And if I can help anyone at any time, I'll stop what I'm doing to help. So I can give you all of that information, live or after, however you want to do it. It's fine. But yeah, via email is great. LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, I'm on everything.
All right. I love it. We'll go and give out those details at the end of the podcast.
Okay.
Our guest is Dee Bernal. She's the Assistant District Athletic Director for Corpus Christi Independent School District. We're going to take another break. I know that's shocking to our regular listeners, but we are coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We'd like to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame for their support of the podcast. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the different events, or show off your school's Hall of Fame, you need to go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touchscreen, that's right, touchscreen video consoles. You put one of their units in your gym lobby or your main school hallway, it's going to be like a magnet for kids, for coaches, for teachers. How about parents and sponsors? You got to see it to believe it. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their products today. We also want to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's from Ohio, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. And while he was completing his master's degree, he also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We also want to thank our good friends at Hometown. Hometown's changing the game for schools and organizations with their suite of solutions that includes things like, oh, big surprise, digital ticketing. They're still the number one digital ticketing provider for schools and colleges. They've partnered recently with School Funder for an online fundraising platform. They do athletic website construction and a whole lot more. Whether you're an athletic director, a head coach, even a principal, Hometown makes it easy for you to save time, raise more money, and bring your community together. Go to hometown.com for more information and don't forget to mention the podcast. Hometown.com.
So we use hometown ticketing. We absolutely love our representative. They have just improved our ticketing sale. Our ticketing sales have gone up. We used to just do cash only, and so the last 2 years we've used hometown, and it's been amazing. This coming year we're going to be using the season tickets. We
Right.
haven't used that feature, and so we're going to use that this year. We're really excited about it.
That was going to be my question. How do you use the season ticket aspect? What kind of feedback did you get from your fans when you first introduced the online ticketing?
They were like, and it was mostly our older fans because they just the technology, didn't know how to use it. But we have, workers out there now and show them how to do it. And I think after the first or second game, like we didn't really have any issues. And now it's like we have more sales online than we do in person.
At the door,
So
yeah.
it has really
Mhm.
helped, and we're really excited, like I said, with the season passes because it's going to save them money. And so they seem to be pretty excited about that.
Oh, well, that's great. And again, thanks so much for sharing. For our
Mhm.
listeners, our guest is Dee Bernal. She's the Assistant District Athletic Director for the Corpus Christi ISD. Dee, you and I were talking during the break, and you mentioned a program that's fairly new. That when I first saw it, I think it was on Twitter. I'm just going, what a great idea. And why aren't more states doing something like this? I'll steal your thunder a little bit. It's called the Texas Way. Can you share with our listeners what it is and, what are your thoughts now that it's been in play?
Yes. And so I mentioned the UIL earlier. We recently, 2 years ago, we had a new director, Ray Cepeda, who was actually from this area. And so he led that initiative along with the Texas High School Coaches Association and the Texas High School Athletic Directors Association for the state. And so they all came together and kind of brainstormed because when they started looking at the data, they saw so many ejections, whether it be the fans, the athletes, and coaches. And they were just like, okay, this is unacceptable, you know? And it really, these ejections all kind of stemmed right after COVID. And so they just thought, okay, what can we do? And so last year when it started, it was kind of like, hey, we're going to do this. There's the whole system wasn't even set up yet, but they wanted that buy-in from, the athletic directors and the coaches. And they said, we'll support you as we go through. But basically what it is, it was a campaign to improve the level of sportsmanship at any sporting event, decrease the number of ejections, and then improve the relationship between the coaches, the officials, and the parents and all of that good stuff. And so it was just an opportunity for our coaches to really hone in on these things that sometimes you just take for granted, right? One of the things that we put in place and that was part of the initiative was bench protocols. Like, what does a coach do when a fight erupts? In the middle of a game, what is like? How are we going to prevent for it to get to another level? And so one of the things that we've done in our district is we have these bench protocols for, if there's just one coach on the bench, two, or three, however, what is that going to look like? And we have our teams practice this throughout the season. So that way, if something does happen, because that's the first thing when a fight erupts like that, when that goes to the UIL, that's the first thing that they're going to do is they're going to look at film and they're going to see, okay, what did the coach do? What did the kids do? That type thing. And so what we found was in doing that, like if you practice these things, just like you practice plays and stuff, you practice them enough when the time is there that it needs to happen, you're going to know what to do. And so this really kind of helped the coaches kind of hone in on those things that you kind of take for granted. You just assume that everybody's going to know what to do. And anyhow, so in addition to that, we also incorporated, we use 360 Athletics, which is the character development program. And that is another thing that we went through our PD. We trained our coaches, and they use that throughout the year. And I think that has really helped not just our kids, but our coaches to really kind of take a step back when those situations get, heated and just reacting appropriately. And so this year, I think I mentioned it to you earlier, this year they had these awards that they gave out. They recognized the schools that had gone above and beyond. And Corpus Christi ISD was one of 19 school districts within the state of Texas that was recognized with that distinction. So we're pretty proud of that. I just think that just putting those things in place, those little things that when I was looking at it, I was like, well, I just do that all the time. You just assume that all coaches do that. And we just can't make that assumption. And so we were just very deliberate in how we presented this stuff and the follow-up. We followed up with our coaches just to make sure that we were getting that stuff done. It paid off. Our numbers just across the board, just went down. Volleyball, we don't ever have any ejections. like that. I think we just discovered that, you know what? There's a net between the teams, and that's been helping us. I don't know, but our numbers were like zero, like in the state of Texas, like that just we just don't fight. All of the numbers, I think, overall in the state of Texas after the initiative started, which was this last year, they all went down, with the exception of basketball. And so we're going to still work on those basketball boys and girls, but overall, football, soccer, just all of them. We just did awesome, and it was because of that initiative. And so we're going on to year 2 this year.
Well, congratulations on your district's success. Way to go. As you were sharing early on, you talked about, working with the coaches working with the players and talking about it and working on those scenarios. It just reminded me of one of my favorite cliches that I didn't invent this, but I certainly, when I heard it, 30 years ago, I brought it to every school I was at. And it just goes like this. Everything we see at really any school, at your school, at my school, everything we see, it's either coached or it's allowed. Good or bad, it's either coached or allowed. Which one is it for you? Obviously, you and your coaches took the time to teach and model and expect, good, great sportsmanship. It's just so
Absolutely.
cool to see. I did a presentation. I do keynotes frequently for states, and I'm not going to name the state, but they were talking in their, I guess, roundtable meeting about ejections. And I think it was a school, or maybe it was a single coach. They had to have 3 ejections before there was any kind of consequence, if you will, from the state association. And I'm just
Wow.
going, that is insane. In Florida, an ejection, I mean, the first level is almost automatically you're gone for 2 games minimum.
Right.
And here was 3 ejections. Anyway,
Yeah.
um,
That would not fly here.
well, again, I love it. The Texas way, you put your stamp on it, and it sounds like it's having a great positive impact for sports in Texas. Good for you.
Yeah.
Dee, this has been just very cool getting to know you, spending some time with you, learning about, hey, we've got some connections, but we're not done yet. We always wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you certainly know your way around the world of athletics, but we're going to take our final break, hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsored this segment. And when we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director on their first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 things in the toolbox. So let's take that break. And when we come back, we're going to see what Dee Bernal puts in her new athletic director toolbox. We want to thank Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. At my school, we use surveys for everything, for students, for coaches, for teachers. We use them for parents too. And here's the cool thing. The information that would come back on these surveys is almost always over the top positive. We still had those squeaky wheel parents that we were already hearing from, but the surveys allowed us to, hear their concerns and hopefully address them before they turned into something big. But going back to that positive data, having all of that was incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with that frustrated parent, sometimes even your principal or maybe your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Dee Bernal. She's the assistant district AD for the Corpus Christi ISD, has a tremendous background as an athlete, as a coach, and as an athletic director. But right now, I'm going to challenge her to send out a brand new AD on their first job, but I'm only going to let her put 3 things in the toolbox. So, Dee, what 3 items are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
Okay. Just 3. Oh gosh, that's hard. Okay. So the first one I am going to say is definitely communication. You need to be very transparent. Um, and with just everybody. And when you communicate, you need to be a very effective communicator. There shouldn't be no question as to whatever the directive was, from you to the coach or to the AC or whoever you're communicating with. It needs to be very, very clear. So I would say definitely the communication piece is vital in this role, especially when you're at the district level, especially when you're the athletic director. You need to make it very clear because I've been a director before, and at the end of the day, everything, if you didn't communicate well, and something happens down the road, it's going to come back to you. Like,
Yep.
you are, the buck stops with you, and so you need to make sure that whatever it is that's communicated with your stakeholders, that you're a very effective communicator.
Yep.
The second thing, I think, as a district AD, our jobs are very much, we're governed by the school board policies as well as UIL in the state of Texas. And so we want to make sure that if our teams make it to state, that they are not pulled out at the last minute because we played an ineligible player, or a coach wasn't, compliant with whatever UIL forms that they had to be filling out. And this has happened, and I'm giving you not here in Corpus Christi ISD, but it has happened. And I would not want to be the athletic director
Yep.
if something like that happened. And so that one kind of goes back to communication, because not only like you're not the knower of all, but that information is public. So it's public to your coaches, to your parents, to everyone. And so you need to make sure that you know those policies, and those handbooks that you write along with your teams, to make sure that they are followed through. Right? We're not going to be skipping here and there to accommodate a particular athlete or what have you. You just need to be fair and consistent through it all. But definitely have that knowledge base. And like I said, you're not going to know everything, but it's there at your fingertips. And
Mhm.
so being able to go in and find the information that you need, a lot of times the coaches will call me, and I'm like, I think I'm more than sure I know the answer, but I'm still going to go double check in the UIL just to double check myself. And so that's okay that you do that. Just because, like I said, you're the athletic director does not mean that you're the knower of all. You still have to rely on those policies and, the things that have been put in place.
Mhm.
Um, and then I would say, I'm kind of torn between two, so I'm going to throw both of them
Give us
there.
both in. I love it.
You definitely have to have a compassionate heart. Like I said, I was a coach for 19 years. So I know the struggles that the coaches that they go through. Um, Recently we've had so many, like, it's so hard to keep female coaches. And I don't understand that because, I was a military wife. I had 3 boys. I coached, like, it was hard, but I balanced it. And now recently we have a lot of coaches that want to start families, and so they just step away from coaching. And so just having that compassionate heart to just make sure that that work with your coaches to try to make sure that we keep them, in the profession. And so and that's really why I'm doing that coaching academy, is to kind of instill in them that the reason why we do this is for the kids, right?
Mhm.
So you really have to have a compassionate heart, I think, for your coaches, for the kids. And then lastly is the organization piece. If you are not organized, you have no business being an athletic director because you're going so many different directions, especially during season. I oversee during the spring, I oversee tennis, soccer, and softball, and they're all within the same season. And I have to manage, tournaments and games and just everything under the sun during that period of time. And so if I was not organized, I would not get those things done. And so that is super, super important in this profession. If you're not organized, I don't. You might want to go do something else because you definitely need to be organized.
Well, I just love them all, and you covered let's say the practical as well as the the personal. You talk about having that compassionate heart. I just love it. Um, the organization, yeah, you got to see that big picture, but you also got to be able to see the details and everything in between. Dee, this has just been a treat having you on. Thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day to share. Once again, if you don't mind, give out your email. How can our listeners get in touch with you? You mentioned LinkedIn and social media, Corpus
Mhm.
Christi ISD, but what's the email address so they can shoot you a
The email
message?
address that they can reach me at is DG. My last name, my maiden name is Gonzalez, and then Bernal, Bernal at ccisd.us.
Okay. And I'm going to bet you can probably find that on the Corpus Christi Independent School District website
Yes,
too.
yes.
Okay.
It's ccisd.us is the website email address. And then, like I said, LinkedIn, it's under D Gonzalez Bernal. Yeah, I really, before going into administration, I really didn't network too much. Like I was very honed in on sports and coaching my teams, and that's what my focus was. But I'm telling you what, these last 2 years, being an assistant AD has truly opened my eyes to that network piece. Like I haven't gone anywhere. This is where probably I'm going to stay and retire. But I have kind of shared that with my coaches, and my coaches are going to different places because of those connections
Yeah.
that either I made, to help them, or that I have made just, me going to all these different conferences. Um, and so, yeah, it's been a treat. That networking piece has helped me to help our coaches, and that's ultimately, why I'm here.
Oh, and it's another great point. We network for ourselves to get those resources or people we can call on the phone if we have a challenge. But by building our network, we're helping our coaches and the people we work with build their network as well. Great stuff. Dee, all the best for hopefully a relaxing and restful summer. I know you got a lot of things going on, but we're gonna have to get you back on the podcast this fall for an update.
Oh,
Thanks again
yeah,
for sharing.
absolutely.
Okay.
It was great to be here today. I really, really enjoyed it.
Oh, well, you were great too. Thanks for sharing. For
Mhm.
listeners, we want to thank them and remind them that we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day. We try to share stories from the world of athletics along with some best practices. So please come back and join us on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.